Notice how he keeps his body very low as he makes his way towards his opponent. Once he gets in range, he gets on his feet, makes his approach, and attacks. The uniform that you saw being worn in that last sequence is a traditional ninja garb. Starts with the tabi boots, which are basically cloth, split-toed, with rubber bottoms. There's also regular traditional black pants and the black jacket. Now, many people think that black is the most appropriate color for camouflage. However, the ninja would use any color that would allow him to blend with his natural surroundings. Oftentimes, black is too sharp and deep of a color and creates kind of a blob in the shadows. Sometimes it's much better to have a very dark blue or a gray color. However, traditionally we practice in the black uniform, and it is usually appropriate. If one was in the city, or depending upon the situation, the ninja would make a uniform or create a uniform that would blend with his mission at hand. That uniform might be red, brick-colored, camouflage, black, gray, or whatever is necessary. Let's show you a real interesting way to make a mask. I find this is probably one of the best masks that you can get. You can make it simply by using a long-sleeve black t-shirt. Of course, by putting it over the head as you see here, being done by Mr. Revoy, you can take the sleeves of the shirt and tie it behind the head. The loose ends can dangle or be tucked in. T-shirt's very nice because you can still hear very good even though you have it over your head. Many of the traditional masks that you might buy with uniforms are often too heavy and cumbersome. The arm guards is very important because it helps cover the white part of the back of the hand and the forearms. Now, of course, there's the advantage to wearing an arm guard. There's also the advantage of using camouflage face paint. We'll talk about face paint a little bit later. The good thing about the camouflage face painting is that you don't have the sound and the noise that clothes can make. Also, you don't have the heaviness and the hindrance that you might have with your hearing by wearing a mask. The advantage, of course, of having a mask is that it can be taken off very quickly and easily. You can return to a normal state. Yet with camouflage face painting, you have to deal by trying to get that off your face. So let's take a look at Mr. Jones as he moves along this tree line. Now notice the uniform, the camouflage itself, blends very nicely with the surroundings. However, his face and hands really stand out. Let's go into some camouflage face painting. There are a variety of kinds on the market, and anything will work. There is the traditional military kind, the hunter's kind, and even the theatrical kind. Doesn't really make a big difference what you use. Camouflage face painting can be put on very quickly in a matter of seconds, or you can take more time like we're going to do here and demonstrate a more intricate fashion. The whole idea of camouflage face painting is to change the natural features of the face. In other words, we want him to blend with his surroundings in a natural way. By moving the paint in angles across the face, it helps to break up those features. Many times, those are the features that are naturally recognized by the enemy. Mr. Jenham is applying black paint here across Mr. Jones's face. This also helps to cut down on the shininess of the face that you can get from moonlight or if the sun is hitting during daytime camouflage. Now, of course, if you don't have access to any of these paints, you can ad lib. For example, I've used charcoal from a fire. Works very well. You can use spit and green leaves and work that into the face. Many times in the summertime there's a variety of berries available in the woods. You can use these berries to help camouflage the face paint. Regardless of the technique used, the idea is just to be as naturally involved with the surroundings as possible. Of course, the most natural camouflage material that you could use would be mud or dirt. Many times if you're close to a river, you'll find that you can use a clay, a reddish brown clay, or a mud. They serve very well. Of course, there's also another advantage to these kind of natural camouflage paints, and that is that a lot of times a river-type mud will actually help cover up your natural scent of your man. Help tremendously during hunting techniques, for example. Now you're starting to see the face take shape now. The angles of the features of the face are starting to be broken down. He's now working in another color. Once again, because Mr. Jones will be working in the wooded type surroundings, this is the most appropriate camouflage for him. Any kind of camouflage constitutes just the natural blending of the surroundings. For example, maybe a suit and tie would be a good camouflage outfit in the city. It depends how you want to blend into your surroundings. Now you can see how that green and black mix together very nicely. When you're painting your face, make sure to get all the spots necessary. Up along the top of the forehead, behind the ears, on the inside of the ears. Of course, the hands also need to be covered to cover up that shininess. Backs of the hands and the forearms both. Now you can see the finished product. Once Mr. Jones puts his hat on, you'll see the advantage of the camouflage face paint. Let's move him over to that tree line and see a difference. This is kind of the before and after effect. Once again, the uniform blends just as good as it did before, but now his face and hands are much more invisible. He blends much more nicely with the surroundings. You can experiment with your own camouflage techniques. Just kind of play around with them and try to develop your own skills and techniques. As you look around in the woods, everything seems completely natural. It's very difficult for you to find the ninja if he's trying to be invisible. Why? Because he's blending with the surroundings. If you look very closely now, you'll be able to see movement. Once again, movement catches the eye. That's the first thing you capture as you see Mr. Springbrett moving out from behind the bush. He fires his bow. He's virtually invisible. Now he becomes more visible as he moves out from his hiding place. Once again, to be able to apply these kind of stealth techniques and invisibility, you need good, strong muscles in the body. You need to combine your mental sharpness with the strength in your body. With this, you'll be able to control your footwork, control your stances, every step that you make. That's as big a part of invisibility as your uniform. Now here you can see Mr. Springbett moving along the grass line next to the river as he approaches his game. Notice how he stays very low to the ground. Moves very relaxed, very quietly. He closes distance. Notice how he checks all the vantage points. Now I want you to do your very best to keep your eye on Mr. Springbett. Watch how easily he can blend with his surroundings. Very simple techniques. Look how hard it is to see him when he doesn't move. And of course, now he's completely invisible just by laying down. As we move in, he continues to move about through the tree line. Every few steps it's a good idea to stop and check. Because when you're moving, you're concentrating. He sees something and fires. And now he's gone. Can you see him? Where is Mr. Springbett? Can you see how easy it is for him to blend with his surroundings? Take a good close look. Do you see him anywhere? There he is. If you missed that, you might want to go back and take a look.
Trap construction.
Let's move on to some of the basic trapping techniques that we can use. Of course, these kind of techniques are developed in case you don't have access to modern skills or modern conveniences. These types of skills can help save your life in the event that you were in a survival situation. The trap being demonstrated here uses a basic log heavyweight principle. When the trap is released, the weight of the log flies forward into the target. Sharpened sticks have been attached to the log to impale the target. There you get a good idea of what it looks like. Now, how do we set this trap off? This particular trap is set off what we call a latch snare. These two pieces of wood have been notched out so that they hook together. The tripwire will be attached to one of those sticks. When the opponent or the target trips up the line, the two wood pieces will come apart and the trap will be set off. Throws the cord and the attachment over the top of the branch. He begins to set up the trap. Now in this particular technique, we have built this trap out in the open so that you can see it. A very well-built trap is virtually invisible. It would be impossible for you to see at home. first important step is to get this latch tied into the tree. Then, the log is raised, and the two hooks, or the snares, are attached together. Now you can see how the latches are connected. Gradually, he applies the weight to the latches. Carefully, he lets go, and they hold. The trap is in place. A poison could be placed on the ends of the tips of those spikes to ensure death. Now, by placing a stick in the ground, we can use this to set up our tripwires. It needs to be strong. Now the cord is being wrapped around. As taut as possible without setting off the trap. It is then wrapped around and tied off. It's ready to go. Can you see the white string going across? It loops under the stick and up to the latches. Once again, when the string is tripped, the latch will release and the log will swing forward into its target. There's our tripwire. And let's carefully set this trap off. Watch closely. Once again, Mr. Springbat trips the wire and immediately lays down. The latches are separated and the trap complete. This is a different trap. This is a dead weight fall type trap. A grill has been constructed with sticks and spikes. This trap works very much the same as the last one. The tripwire is set up, and the dead weight of the trap will fall down on its target. Of course, the grill has spikes on it, and when the cord is tripped, it will fall directly down on top of its target. Watch closely. This is a very powerful trap. Again, let's watch. It is sprung, and the weight of the deadfall trap drops. Let's take one more look at this. When he sets off the trap, the weight of the spikes drive down into the target. Let's take a look at a more deadly trap. This is a trip spring snare trap. How does it work? By this gizmo right here. The principle is based on this. A bendable stick with spikes attached to the end have been tied to this tree. By pulling the branch backwards and hooking it to the snare, it is lodged and ready for firing. When the cord is tripped, this bendable branch will attempt to straighten itself out. In doing so, it will drive these spikes forward into the target. Now, of course, this trap would normally be completely camouflaged with leaves and such.
This concludes our tape on the primary skills of stealth and invisibility. Proficiency of these skills will only come with practice. Continue to review this tape as well as the other tapes in this series.